For the last day, yesterday and today, I've been teaching people according to type. And I've never taught all 4 types that way. And yesterday was an energy day, and there were approximately 10 manifestors, and there were about 40 plus generators. And this morning were the projectors, and there was over 20 of them. And here you. And the fact that there are limited numbers is really what you are. If I have a room full of 100 people, chances are that one of them will be a reflector. And of that room full of 100 people, that one reflector operates totally differently than everybody else. Now, I know you've been told things about what it is to be a reflector, and you've been told about reflector strategy, but I want to take you into something much deeper. First of all, I want you to understand something very simple. All other types, whether they have open centers that are white or not, they're not like you. They're not like you. They have no idea whatsoever who you are. And the way in which they operate, those things that you can hear in human design about the way people deal with open centers and all of that, has nothing to do with you. Has nothing to do with you, because you're different. And you're different because all of it is open from the beginning. And it means when you're looking at somebody's design and you see a center defined and they have undefined centers, that undefined center is a counterpoint. And in fact, it's a conditioning counterpoint, and it's very vulnerable. But the fact that you're born with all of that open, with all of it open, it doesn't operate the same thing, the same way. It doesn't mean that all of you are more vulnerable than anybody else. It's not true. As a matter of fact, there's nothing that has a greater capacity to survive anything than a reflector. In other words, there is an inherent strength built into all of this openness. And it's very important for you not to measure yourself against the 3 other types. They're very different. You really are the alien, pardon me, but it's true. You really are the alien in the mix. And the difficulty is that from the moment that you came into the world, you were conditioned to be like everybody else. And you're not like everybody else. And because of that, you've taken layers and layers and layers of conditioning and have made that your life. And it's not what your life is, and it's not who you are. What I hope I can do for you, because I've rarely had a chance, after all, I'd have to have a room of 400 people just to get to 4 reflectors. Here's a real opportunity for me to tell you things that I never have the time to tell reflectors. Everything, obviously, in your design is open, but I want to start here. I want to start with the sacral center, this center here. The sacral center is the dominant theme of life on the planet. 70% of all human beings are generators. These are people that have this center colored in, have it fixed and defined. This is an exceedingly powerful motor, and it sets the pattern of what life is, literally. Now think about what happens to you when you come into the world. I'm not talking about the adult. I'm talking about the child and how it starts right at the beginning. The moment that you come into the world, the expectation of the majority is that you are here to be an energy type. That is the expectation. When you come out of the womb, it's not your mother saying, here is a child that doesn't have any consistent or fixed energy. As a matter of fact, it doesn't, because of course, all of those white centers, whenever you take energy in, you amplify it. You boost it up. And the moment that you're a child in that environment, and you're going to come into almost all, not all, there are exceptions, but most reflectors will come into an environment in which they're energized. What that means is that not only do they take that on as their conditioning, after all, they have no way of understanding what's happening to them. They assume that they're the energy, and all of the conditioning that they get from their parents is conditioning to make them an energy type, and specifically a manifestor. Do this, do that, be good, don't do that, whatever the case may be. All of that has nothing to do with who you are, has nothing to do with it. But it is the beginning of the controlling mechanism. And the controlling mechanism in your life starts with that open sacral center. And it's something to understand. The sacral center is about work. It's about work. That's why generators are the great workers on the planet. They're the ones that have the consistent energy flow. They're the ones that are here to be doing all the work all the time. You came into the world, and you came into the world not to work. I mean, you came into the world not to work. Now, I don't mean that you don't do things in your life. I'll explain that. But you're not here to labor. You're not here to be an energy being. You're not here to have that kind of work. And remember that you can always be a super slave. A super slave. Generators are slaves. You, with an open sacral center, you can become the super slave. And of course, being a super slave is deeply exhausting. I mean, it's deeply exhausting. You're not built for that. But that's the way you were conditioned from the beginning. And the way you were conditioned is to be controlled. To be controlled. Now, it's one of the first things for you to recognize about the nature of who you are, is that nobody has a right to tell you what to do. And nobody has a right to control you. Nobody. Nobody. And particularly when it comes to what you do. What you do is constantly being controlled by others. But what you do is something that specifically has to be your decision, and I'll talk about that decision-making process in a while. But I want you to begin to understand that from the moment that you came into the world, you were being conditioned not to be the alien, not to be the unusual, not to be the special, because you are. You were conditioned to be like everybody else. And not only do you end up like everybody else, but you end up as an exaggerated expression of it. And in the end, of course, you feel totally controlled by everybody and everything around you, and you don't seem to have any true identity or true direction of your own.